He's going to be a mighty king, like no king was before. He's looking up, you're looking down. Wait, that's the Lion King. This is the Christmas Invasion, featuring David Tennant, written by Russell T Davies.
Okay.
And good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 56th broadcast of an Unearthly podcast, recording on Friday, May 23rd, 2014. I am Randy Ronson McCulloch, your host for the evening, since Bill is feeling a bit out of sorts. With me is Mad Matt Winchell.
Hello.
Erin Romeo Moon Burke.
Hello.
And Bill himself.
How's it going?
You can watch us on Twitch TV or watch us at Twitch TV, twitch.tv/madmat2185, blah, twitter.com/unearthlypod, facebook.com/unearthlypodcast, and youtube.com/meninblackreviews. At least we got rid of the long numbered letter one that was a little
wordy,
tongue-tie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's more convenient for them, but it is difficult for us to read out, yeah.
But yeah, there are easier ways to find it, but yeah. Okay.
Alright. So, we of course are going to start off the night with the news. And there is actually a little bit of news tonight. And, hey, surprise, surprise, it's not a death.
Yay!
That's now, what, 4 or 5 weeks at least
4
without a death?
That was wood.
Yeah, and I knocked on wood too.
I knocked on my head, does that count?
Depends on who you ask, maybe.
The first piece of news is the fact that Doctor Who is actually confirmed now as being starting in August of
I think we had pretty much already figured that out, but it is nice.
Well, they've said it, but they've not officially said it until now.
No, but ever since they said late in the year, I've been saying August because it doesn't.
Yeah, we've been saying August.
Yeah,
they haven't been saying August, and
Mm-hmm.
now they're saying August.
Yeah, so I mean, we had pretty much figured that out, but it's nice to have them confirm that it's definite.
Yes, and with that, there is a new Series 8 trailer. It does not show a heck of a lot.
But it is definitely cool looking, though, for the short thing that it is.
It shows August.
It shows it. Yeah, that's where the August confirmation has. It also shows a brief flash of Capaldi standing in front of the TARDIS console.
In silhouette with sparks.
And it looks to be like spouting fire or something.
Mm-hmm, so sparks and a little bit of fire.
So I don't know if this means they are going to destroy the console room again. If they are, I may have to hurt some designers.
Because that's one of the better console rooms they've had now.
Yes, it's a great console room, and we've only had it for half a season plus 2 specials. You've just spent all the money in the world making the console room. Don't wreck it, please. Not yet, anyway.
Although they have done sparks before in a lot of other console rooms and didn't completely destroy them. So.
Yeah. It's the big gout of fire that worries me.
Yeah.
And again, some console rooms are destroyed by being put in the wrong closet without closing it all the way. So.
That's classic Who, but yeah.
Yeah.
I would also argue that I'm sure that for things like this, they probably have special stuff made to withstand the heat. Or meant to be destroyed for that particular scene and then gets replaced with the normal stuff.
I kind of meant in story destroy the console room so they could make another one.
Yeah, that would be a little bit of a pain in the neck.
Yep. And I believe, is there anything else we want to say about that?
I'm trying to... this August. Yep, there it is.
Yep.
Other than that, for those of us who are seeing our live podcast at GeekCon, that means we will definitely be covering a new episode.
Unless for whatever reason they're starting like August 31st. Or, what is the
Like
last?
late August. It
last
just says
Saturday.
August.
The 30th is Saturday, so that would be the last.
Yeah, so if they start on August 30th, we won't be covering anything new. It might actually be that they start on August 23rd, in which case, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, what timing.
Excellent timing, guys. Thumbs up. We highly condone you starting on the 23rd.
Yeah, it'll be a hell of a stressful weekend, but we love the fact that you'll give us a live episode with your first episode of the season.
Yeah, I'll be using most of my phone bandwidth that particular day. First to download the app and then to actually watch it.
And you'll probably have like 2 or 3 other people crowded around you trying to watch it with you.
Are you kidding? I'm planning on actually going up to the staff room and
airing it.
popping it in, if not our hotel room or something.
Or something, yeah.
Yeah, just so that we can actually get it watched, so we can review it for the podcast. That would be awesome.
Right.
23rd, guys, remember.
Okay.
All right.
Crossing
Next
fingers.
piece of news.
BAFTAs.
Doctor Who. Yes, the BAFTAs. Doctor Who has won a BAFTA award at the Television Awards. This is not the behind the scenes, the crew awards. This was the main one.
Woo.
Day of the Doctor won the BAFTA.
That was for which? That was for effects, wasn't it?
That
No,
was the old one.
That was the previous one.
This is for the main
So
thing.
What category is it in?
Won Radio Times Audience Award at the 2014 BAFTA Television Awards this evening.
It's the viewer's choice, essentially.
Yeah, it's essentially the viewer's choice.
Yeah, the Radio Times Audience Award. So that means that was a poll in the Radio Times, and everybody chose Doctor Who.
Woo!
So, great job, guys.
GG, game over, we win.
Yeah, it was won the last audience award in 2006. Let's see. David Bradley also won an award, but not for Adventure in Space and Time. And
for Broadchurch, though, so for what can be, in some ways, but not others, referred to as a Doctor Who spin-off. And by that I mean, I'm sure that the fact that David Tennant starred in it did not hurt their ratings.
No, I'm pretty sure it didn't.
Doctor Who.
And Adventure in Space and Time itself missed out on the reward for Best Single Drama, which was won by Channel 4's Complicit.
Aww.
So, yeah.
Mixed news then. Yay, Day of the Doctor. Boo. Adventure in Time and Space got left behind. Space and Time.
And
we keep
then
messing that up.
Yeah.
Why did they put Space and Time? It's always been Time and Space.
Because Time
Probably
and
to
Space
keep
is a
it
different
separate.
series.
Yeah. Probably one of those like Stephen Hawking things or something. All right.
I think an Adventure in Time and Space might be the Bill Baggs one.
Possibly. Although that wouldn't stop them because nobody considers the Bill Baggs stuff to be official anyway.
No, but I mean in terms of them owning the copyright for the title.
Bill Baggs used copyrights?
Legally, if you create something, you have a copyright.
Yeah, but if you're...
At least in the US, I don't know about
can you copyright something that's a direct ripoff of another work?
That's a good question because... Yeah.
Speaking
Baggs
of...
was doing most of this trying to stay under the radar, so...
Yeah.
Speaking of knockoffs, by the way, Randy, I did share your crossover with Ramna One Half with a guy who does a weekly podcast. Mm-hmm. And he was apparently already reading the first chapter, and he really liked it.
Cool.
He is a Ramna fan, and he is a Doctor Who fan, and he was loving it.
Well, you can tell him I will continue to write it once my life gets back to a stable situation
I'm
again.
sure he probably saw the notations that's on hold for now. But yeah, I just figured that now that it popped in my head, that would be a good time to mention that.
If anyone has not read it, you can find it at fanfiction.net/
Yeah. Fanfiction.net,
Ron
just look up Rana One Half and Doctor Who, and you'll
just
find it.
Just look up RAN-SAN. I'm the only one that has that.
Oh yeah,
author.
Ron San with the hyphen in the middle. And you'll find him.
Don't forget the hyphen. The hyphen's important.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's anybody that doesn't have the hyphen, but if there's not, I need to grab that name too. Anyway, our third piece of news is that the restoration team has released a video showing the work they did in restoring the 9 episodes of Doctor Who that was released last year.
Speaking of which, I actually did see the DVDs in stores today.
Oh, awesome. I need to buy those for the con.
Yeah, I was noticing them. I definitely saw the second Doctor stuff that was out already.
Yeah, those were what I was planning on showing for GeekCon this year for Doctor Who was Enemy of the World, Web of Fear, and something.
I'm not sure what Web of Fear, but I definitely saw quite a few copies of Enemy of the World.
Well, that's the complete one. I don't know if they've actually done animation on Web of Fear or if it's just a clip summary at this point. I'll have to double check that. But if not, we'll figure something out.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Basically, it starts with the remedial work, trying to get the film cleaned, and then the actual film cleaner working, and then slowly showing how they, recovered each, lost panel and everything.
Yeah, that's gonna be some really hefty work because I know Photoshop. Even in Photoshop, that's gonna be some nasty long work.
I remember when George Lucas did the special edition for Star Wars. The first thing he did was re-release all the originals, which he had to remaster, and that's essentially what's being done here is remastering them.
Yep.
And he did that, and he said when he pulled Star Wars, which was made, 10 years after these, and this was 10 years ago, so 20 years different in time, the masters for Star Wars had deteriorated so much that Darth Vader looked blue.
Oof.
Jeez.
Yeah,
so
you gotta save that footage hard time.
That taking 20 years of time, and now imagine tacking on another 20 years worth of time.
Damn.
And not being kept in the most ideal of conditions.
And that's why trying to watch 60s movies on VHS are a bitch in the best of conditions.
Yeah, pretty much. Anyway, if you're interested in the very technical aspects on how this kind of work happens, this is probably a very good video to watch.
Yeah, and it is on YouTube, so it's free to watch.
It's about 4 minutes and 50 seconds, it looks like.
Just about, yes.
So, yeah, it's, an idle, commercial length watch, essentially.
Mm-hmm. And I've been slowly paging through the video.
If you're a teacher at a film school or something like that, and you want to, or the technical end of a film school, this might actually be a good thing to show to your class.
Yeah, just a little quick something. You
So
have computers, we know it. You need to have them there in the first place. Yeah, that looks interesting.
Yeah. It's not really my kind of thing, but I know Matt might like it, and
I'm a video technician of my own
I'll
right.
probably watch it at some point.
Yeah, I might actually save this and watch it later.
Okay. And that's our news for this week. It's been light, other than the trailer being the giant news of the week.
Although you did say you wanted to add in one extra tidbit.
Oh, I was actually going to.
Hmm?
I was actually going on to non-Doctor Who related news.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is, it's still science fiction news. I just wanted to give you a non-spoilerific review of X-Men Days of Future Past. If you're looking on the go see it or not go see it, this is a go see it movie, especially if you're a comic book fan.
Unfortunately, the movie I'll be talking about does not have as simple of an answer that can be given, which I'll explain a little bit.
Okay, you got one too?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. This is probably the best X-Men movie we've seen thus far. The only one that could arguably compare is the first one. And if you thought that First Class was better than the first one, then this is going to be your favorite. This is written by the same guy, who ironically is the same guy that wrote X3, which kind of crashed the franchise. But he more than makes up for it with this movie.
Oh my god, I'm looking at that Beast right now. That Beast makeup is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, and they brought back Banshee. Cool. I've been hearing a lot of people that like Banshee lately too.
There's a lot of characters that return, and you get to see both the original X2 and X3 actors and the First Class actors.
Was last night the opening for X-Men? Because I'm trying to find box office records on it in the Canteen.
I'm not sure if last night was, but it definitely came out this week, I think.
It was either
last
last night or the night before.
It's almost always Thursday night, Friday morning that they release.
Depending. We saw it at 10 p.m. Usually, if you go to see it Thursday night, you can't see it till midnight.
They also, I think, release stuff on Tuesdays as well.
They also will occasionally release stuff on Wednesdays.
And occasionally Wednesdays, yeah.
It was officially released today, so we actually saw it 2 hours early. I guess it's like probably midnight at a certain, time zone or something.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever, we saw it licensed, so technically
it was technically
today
released midnight East Coast then, maybe.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, we saw it. It is worth going to see it. A few people would say watch it a few times if you can afford to. It's definitely worth it. It is probably... I don't know how it compares to the Winter Soldiers. I have not seen the Winter Soldier yet.
I haven't either. I'm actually kind of wishing I would have, but it's on my to-do list to catch up with Avengers stuff.
I've seen Winter Soldier, and I can really recommend it. My only problem is that I feel one of the plot lines could have been cut, and it would not have hurt the movie.
There were maybe a few moments in here where you start to think get on with it, but then they almost immediately get on with it. So it's like
they start to get wordy, and this one you're getting too wordy. Boom!
There's a few scenes where you're watching it and you know one of the people in this scene is Mystique. And they could have cut those a little shorter.
Yeah.
And those are really the only issues I had. There are some great scenes in here. The dialogue is absolutely wonderful.
I feel like they feel the need to keep Mystique on screen as long as possible to bring in the fans of naked blue boobs.
Hugh Jackman, of course, is, Wolverine and is still Wolverine pretty much as Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Charles Xavier, I still think Patrick Stewart's the better Xavier. That's me, just saying.
I think both of them. I think it seems like the other Xavier is a little more timid in this one, a little more laid back in this one, by look of it. But I haven't seen it yet.
I still actually bought the younger Xavier in this one, and I didn't buy him too well in First Class.
So that, in your eyes, is already an improvement.
Mm-hmm. And I pretty much bought all the other characters. The Sentinels, which are not a thing, if there's Days of Future Past, there's going to be Sentinels.
They better be.
They're
how long and how often are they there?
They're all over the posters and the trailers, so...
Mm-hmm.
They better be there for more than just 2 minutes, damn it.
Oh no, trust me, there are key points to many scenes.
Okay.
This goes into a lot of the mythos behind the Sentinels. And it's that's what this is supposed to do, so very good.
How'd the finished Sentinel, how'd the finished effect look? Because I know a lot of people were poking fun at the practical half of it.
Not bad. Because you actually, I might actually spoiler here, so cut ahead a few minutes if that. There's two groups of Sentinels that you're dealing with in here. You're dealing with the Sentinels in the future that are basically killing everybody. Again, Days of Future Past storyline, this is what happens. And you're dealing with the Sentinels being created in the era that they're going back in time to fix this to. And those are just starting pretty much like being built for the first time.
Terminator 3, I think.
The future Sentinels are very different, and my brain didn't really connect them as being Sentinels. They remind me more of the suit of armor from Thor, the one that decimated everything.
Oh, okay.
Oh, the one Loki sent?
Yeah.
Yes. But while not exactly like they were in the comic books, the Sentinels that we saw in the future were very nice references to those. And there are a lot of references to other X-Men stuff as you're watching this, so it's kind of, referenced with love.
So if you're any kind of a 90s X-Men fanboy, you're probably going to love this.
80s X-Men fan in particular. Days of Future Past was originally an 80s plotline.
Yes, but it was also slightly covered in the 90s cartoon.
Oh, yes.
It's my favorite X-Men film
the 90s
so far.
cartoon was pretty much X-Men on fast forward.
Yes, it was. It was basically, let's take all the X-Men and try to compress it into the Jim Lee era.
and it was awesome for that.
Yeah. I still think it's the best X-Men cartoon incarnation we've seen, and this is the best movie. And if you're a comic book fan, in particular, if you are or have ever been an X-Men fan, you need to go see this movie.
Let's see, they got Beast, Angel,
I feel like I
Colossus.
should also watch it because I have a poster for the movie on my wall in my bedroom. So I would feel really dumb if I never watched it.
I did not see it in 3D. I have no idea what the 3D for it is like, so I cannot review that.
And more often than not, you probably don't want to go to 3D on a dark, gloomy movie like this anyway. Usually it tends to look a lot really, really muddy and it hurts your eyes. Because the 3D doesn't always work that well in dark movies. Unless it was actually pre-made with 3D, in which case it might help a little bit.
Double check the stream.
Double check the stream? It's still going.
Alright.
Unless it errored on your end. Which it can. Twitch is a pain in the neck some days.
He's probably referring to the fact I was getting a little nervous because I haven't gotten an email update yet. I was wondering if, I haven't been able to watch it live in a while, so I hadn't...
I'm still seeing it, so...
I have the email update.
Erin got the email update, so weird.
Okay.
It apparently just bugged out on your end.
Yeah, 10:04.
Oh, there we go. Okay, no, actually, the problem was my phone. It wasn't even the email, it was my phone. Okay.
Arg. Okay.
My phone's been really weird lately. I don't even know why.
It's been one of those weeks, dude. But let's slide on you for today. So, then Bill, you were saying you wanted to talk about something quick, mostly spoiler-free?
If Randy's done.
Yeah, I'm done. I was just concluding.
Yeah.
Well, I watched a movie over the past week. This was one that actually was released... Well, I could have skipped our last podcast to watch this movie and then walk home in the rain. I did not, of course, because I was at the podcast. But I watched it on Saturday, and that is, of course, Godzilla, the big sci-fi movie release of last week, which did more than triple the box office of the next highest film over the weekend. So, yay for sci-fi making money.
Yay for giant monsters making money.
Absolutely.
Geek films.
It's really... Unfortunately, I cannot boil this down to a see it or don't see it because I know plenty of people that were disappointed by it and plenty of people that really loved it. What it really comes down to is...
Did they not fuck it up like the 90s film?
They did no, it was a lot closer to the source material than the 90s.
Which is a good sign.
I'm trying to... I want to say that it's kind of like a cross between Mothra vs. Godzilla and the original Godzilla. But there are things it doesn't do as well. A lot of people found that there was too slow of a build-off without enough payoff. That doesn't sound like a spoiler, so... And I do kind of agree, although I feel like the payoff was just enough for me not to mind. So it depends. If really strong, if a single great moment is good enough to greatly improve a film for you, watch it. Whereas,
Or I would add that maybe, having not seen it, I would assume that a certain sequence of events in the later half of the movie might help it pay off, as long as it's really good ending sequence of events.
If you're the type of person that says the last 30 minutes can redeem a film for you, you'll probably like this. Whereas,
if you're really bored to
not,
tears with the first half and you want nothing to do with it because of that, then yeah.
This is from the same director as Monsters, which its biggest criticism was being boring.
Yeah, it seems to suffer the exact same problems as that film, from what I understand.
And yeah, to an extent. I mean, I found enough things that I liked about it to really like the movie, but not all Godzilla fans will.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I've heard only little tidbits, spoiler-free as well.
I can't really tell you any more without spoiling it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're kind of meh on Godzilla?
If you're kind of meh on Godzilla, then the first
Probably won't
2/3
be-
are probably not going to convince you otherwise.
Okay. Well, it's
However-
not like I hate
however, from what I've been
Godzilla, but
hearing-
it's like I can take or leave it as I please.
Yeah, well, I mean, and obviously I can't say that if you're not a huge Godzilla fan, you won't like it, considering I would probably even say the majority of the people that went to see this movie had only ever seen one Godzilla movie in their life, and that one was made in the 90s.
No.
Yeah.
So,
I can say I've only seen one Godzilla movie in my... No, I can't say that. I saw at least one of the Mecha Godzilla movies.
I used
But
to
I
watch
saw-
it all the time.
I saw the original American... Well, I shouldn't say the original. The Americanized version of the first movie with Raymond Burr.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And that's
And it-
actually a pretty decent one, all considering.
Yeah. And then I saw at least one of the Mecha Godzilla ones, and then I saw one of the worst ones.
Yeah, I think I showed you one of the worst ones.
which worst one?
It was either the Smog Monster or Megalon. I forget
Funny
which.
fact: the Godzilla versus the Smog Monster. I believe his director was the only Japanese executive producer, I believe, on
For
the
this
film.
new one, yes.
But that actually does not ruin it.
Yeah, that does not ruin it. It just means that he was there to help double-check things, because he knows what the worst Godzilla movie looks like.
If you're not a giant monster fan, like if the giant monsters aren't specifically what's going to draw you in, there is a pretty standard Hollywood plot. It's actually kind of multi-layered in that the hero is a hero for more than one reason and has multiple priorities. So it's
If you don't mind human plots, the human plots will actually be apparently fairly competent for the most part.
It has things I can praise about it and things that people will dislike about it. Like, and I've pretty much just described what I praise about it. You know, well, mostly.
Without spoilers.
It has the right ideas, but it's not absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
All right.
It has some of the right... That's pretty much the way I've heard it, too, is that it has what you really... At least what you need to make this a Godzilla movie and not make it a betrayal. And it's by no means nearly as bad as the 90s movie.
Yeah, I've actually never seen that.
You're a lucky man, Randy.
I've seen a few scenes from it, but I've never seen the entire thing.
The thing is, I really
Randy,
enjoyed,
that's a lot of fish.
I really enjoyed that in the 90s, but I don't want to get too deep into that conversation because we'll never get to Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and we should probably finish up because I think we're half hour into the podcast now.
Thereabouts.
Yeah, so let's actually go on to our feature presentation.
Oh,
But
somebody
before
should
we
say
talk...
the
What?
scene.
What's that?
Oh, I think you were going to say that.
Before we go to our feature presentation, let's talk about our pre-feature presentation.
Oh.
A lot of people...
Okay.
What, was there something else you wanted to talk
No.
about?
Well, I was originally going to... normally, for this series, you've been setting the scene as to what it's like in Doctor Who leading up to the regeneration. I thought that's what you were going to do there.
Kind of, sort of. Because it's all wrapped up in the same thing. I mean, this one's kind of hard to tell because it's not much... It's only been 1 year since the last scene setting.
Yeah.
All we can say is the fact that, Chris Eccleston left under some circumstances that are questionable that he's never talked about.
Because he tries to be as professional as he can be, and we understand this. But he has willingly stated more than once that if they get the right stuff to drag him back in, he will.
And
we should
basically
mention that.
Yes, Bill?
Go ahead. I was just gonna say, David Tennant was the first choice for the Ninth Doctor, but he was unavailable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because he was in Casanova at the time.
And that was a pretty big thing for him at the time, too.
I've always wondered if Chris Eccleston got fired by Russell because he basically is just like, okay, we're regenerating you out because we're going to put in David.
Maybe.
That might be what happened. We don't know. We're only speculating. There's 1,000 things that could be. All that we know is that Chris Eccleston has said that the story that the BBC gave about him being worn out by the schedule for the Doctor Who shootings is not true.
Yeah, that sounds like BBC trying to pull rubbish.
They claimed that he was Patrick Troughton when he was really William Hartnell.
Yeah, so we don't know what's happened, but all we know is that he was out, and Russell T Davies had somebody that he already wanted to be the Doctor, and that's David Tennant, who was a huge Doctor Who fan. And
almost as big of a fan as the upcoming Doctor, actually.
Yeah, and an admitted geek, too. I mean, I remember one of his early interviews, he was wearing an Atari t-shirt, and I was just like, awesome!
Well, Peter Capaldi has written letters to magazines. He's apparently made fan art when he was a kid and all this other stuff, so yeah.
I could see David Tennant shopping at Hot Topic.
Yeah.
Oh,
anyway.
yeah. I could see David doing that, yeah.
We get him started, but before they actually did the first broadcast, or possibly afterwards, but either way, broadcast before the Christmas invasion, which is what we're going to talk about, they did a little bit for children in need.
Mm-hmm.
I believe this was the first time they'd done something for children in need.
It depends if you... Well, no, it's...
This is the first time that the modern series had done it.
Russell did, yeah.
Yes, the first time since the Doctor Who reboot.
5 Doctors.
Mm-hmm.
And Death... If you were thinking of the Curse of Fatal Death, that was for Red Nose Day, for comic relief.
I'm pretty sure the 5 Doctors was for children in need.
5 Doctors was not.
No, that 5 Doctors was in of itself an actual part of the normal series, Bill.
Yes, it was a broadcast episode. It was just broadcast on a special night.
I thought it was specifically broadcast as part of Children in Need,
though. No, it wasn't.
But I'm more confident that I think Dimensions in Time was.
That might have been. If so, that was the only time prior to this where they did basically a 5-minute clip between Parting of the Ways and the Christmas Invasion, which dealt with Rose dealing with the brand new Doctor's regeneration.
Mm-hmm. And the Doctor actually first testing out his new regeneration for a few seconds.
Yes. So I'm going to want to take a little bit and discuss this because it really changes how you see Rose going into the Christmas Invasion, as I have mentioned many times to Bill. Because if I remember correctly, you thought the change in Rose from parting to Christmas Invasion was way too drastic before you saw this special. Correct?
Yeah, and I mean, I still feel that to an extent, but nowhere nearly as strongly as I did before.
For those of you that don't know, pretty much right after Tennant says Barcelona, Rose spends about 1 to 2 minutes trying to demand that whoever this person is bring back the Doctor, and he's basically trying to establish to her that it's him.
Mm-hmm.
And Rose is basically more than a little freaked out, to say the least.
Yeah, there goes the kindly old man who still had a dark but yet happy heart in him, and then here's this weird guy.
Mm-hmm. And so, she's essentially wanting to go home, so the Doctor changes course from Barcelona to the Powell estate, sets course for Christmas, And then the regeneration starts going wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically sets the TARDIS on a crash course. And that's basically the summary for that. What do you guys think of it? I don't know if you've seen it, Erin.
The Christmas Invasion? Yeah, I watched it yesterday.
No, the
The children in
preview.
the special.
The children need
Yeah.
preview before Christmas Invasion
Oh no, I just watched whatever on the on Netflix.
on Netflix. Yeah, I'm not sure if they have children.
The only place you can find that these days is either on the DVDs or on YouTube.
Yeah.
There's several copies of it on YouTube. But I'm pretty sure Matt has seen it, and I'm pretty sure Bill has seen it.
I've seen it at least a couple of times. Yeah, it definitely is. I guess I've never really had. Again, I've never really had a problem with Rose either way, but I guess it does help to make you understand that she's already kind of in a certain mindset at this point.
Already jittered.
Yeah. Already pre-jittered, and she's just trying to be mother hen and may not come off quite right unless you understand what's already going on.
Mm-hmm. This was basically filmed as one scene, by the way, so there's only a very few camera cut takes in it, where they will cut to a close-up camera.
It must have been a hell of a time trying to get it all down in one go.
It does flow pretty naturally with the ending of Parting of the Ways. Like I remember watching it, feeling like I had already seen it, but not.
Mm-hmm. And then you realize, wait a minute, that's because I saw that part, and now it's going on. So it's kind of an extended scene off of Parting of the Ways.
Yes.
Just more Tenet. Which, in my opinion, is always a good thing. But anyway,
helps continuity.
Yeah, you get to see some of the new Tenet-y personality in this.
Just a little bit.
Where he's kind of a little unstable, talking about hopping for your life, hopping. No?
No? Okay.
But, then it's basically just a short, but I think it's almost an integral short. I really wish they had included it in Netflix. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it would have been nice if they had it on Netflix. It would be a lot easier for people to find it.
I mean, Netflix doesn't really have those types of shorts, really.
They should, though. They're important.
Yeah, they are.
Like,
especially...
really for any show, they don't really have those types of things.
It'd be nice to actually have a DVD collection of the Doctor Who minisodes and everything.
Considering I'm like part of it, like you look at it like, I want to stream it, but I want to watch the special features on the DVD, and the only way you can do that is to rent the DVD.
Mm-hmm.
Or actually own the DVD like I do. Which, by the way, I was looking for Season 4 today, and I could not find Season 4 to save my life.
If you own the DVD and you're looking for the special features on Netflix, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
You have to YouTube it. That's pretty much what BBC is forced us to do now.
If you own the DVD, you can actually just plug the DVD in without problem.
I'm not going to rate this because it's too short.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say that it's a good watch.
It's a good watch, and it's a good addition to add on before watching Christmas Invasion.
Yeah,
it helps put things in perspective.
If you're watching series 1 and 2 at the same time, like I did, it's good to put in between.
Okay. All right. So we'll move on to the Christmas Invasion, which, as I said, is David Tennant's first. This will, by the way, conclude our series of endings that we started so long ago.
A couple months ago.
Oh shit.
That since the 11th hour would be the conclusion, but we've already reviewed it.
Yes,
and of course we can't very well review Peter Capaldi's last episode.
Our first episode, because it hasn't been aired yet. We will when it airs.
Kind of funny to think that Series 7 ended a year ago.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I was just mentioning somebody about a game I got addicted to watching the beginning of Series 7 Part 2, and it was like, wow, that was a year ago.
Mental gaming, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was I playing back in the time? I think I was just getting back into Team Fortress 2 again. And now the server I was actually on for that is dead, from what I
I
checked
think Erin
last.
remembers that. I think that was when we were at Sarah's Brothers.
I didn't mean to spin us off into a nostalgic conversation.
But yeah,
No, I started the nostalgia trip. Anyway,
Yeah.
I don't know
The,
what you guys are. What are you guys talking about? Which one?
no, we were talking about how long
Erin,
it has
fall
been
asleep.
since how long
Me?
it had been since Series 7.5, essentially, and that it has actually been over a year since Series 7.5. And I had mentioned the first episode of that we had gone to see, I think, at Sarah's Brothers.
No,
I
I
thought you
have
were there.
no idea what you're talking about, dude.
I thought you were
I
there.
don't even know what 7.5 is.
Series 7
halfway through season 7, which
From
started
Bells
this
of-
last year.
from Bells
I've
of
never
St. John-
seen Series 7.
Oh, I
I've
thought
only
you were.
seen
I thought you were
Series
there
6.
for the Bells to St. John.
Nope.
Yeah. Maybe you couldn't
I
make
was
it
not
that
there.
night. All I
No,
remember is Bob getting me hooked on a game called Flow, and then getting everyone else that was there hooked on it later.
I heard about it long before then, but
Okay, I've got to close this box office results page because it's got Son of God right above Godzilla, the Japanese original, and they keep blending together in my head.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bill,
Bill.
you need to stop trailing off Bill. Bill, come back to us. Come here, boy.
Jesus Christ, dinosaur.
Jesus Christ, dinosaur hunter. Wait.
Anyway. The summary for this. Who wants to do the summary?
I
Anybody?
was penned to do it, but I'm just not in the mental state to
Yeah,
do it
that's
Right
now.
now, I could if
Anybody?
we need me to. Blink, blink.
Okay.
No
You've
other-
watched it recently?
Have I watched it recently? No, but I do recall quite a bit of it. Not much escapes me as I recall of it.
Yeah.
It pretty much just starts with them crash landing for the first time, I believe, in the series. Actually, technically, the second time if you count the fact that Colin Baker was attacked and turned into Sylvester McCoy.
The TARDIS has crashed a few times, actually, Matt.
I feel like it might have crashed in one of the Slovene stories.
I don't recall actual crash that often, though.
It
This was
crashed
actually,
in
you see it coming in and almost crashing into things.
It crashed in Castrovelva. We know that. It was on its side.
It more like it landed and thumped on its side. I'm not sure how much of a crash that technically counts as, but yeah, it made it there. Like, this is actually the first time we see an on-screen, not just teleported
yeah.
falling over, but an actual on-screen that's flying in and almost hit people
That's
kind of crash.
generally because prior to this, the TARDIS never really moved that way. It always kind of materialized.
Well, it's also floated and bobbed before, but this is the first time that they've teleported in and then floated and bobbed and flew into place and almost hit people.
Yeah.
So it's the first actual real crash.
This is the first time we see it ever coming in for a landing.
Yeah. This is an actual flying landing that normally doesn't happen too often until more recent seasons of the show. And yeah, I think it almost hits Mickey in the head, doesn't it?
It almost hits Mickey and Jackie in the head.
Oh yeah, that's right. They were both there. They both heard it at the same time and quickly ducked to the side.
What
So
a
yeah,
glorious
opening up,
season.
we have Rose panicking in the TARDIS as the TARDIS comes into a crash landing. The first time it's floated in for a crash landing, rather. And both Mickey and Jackie have heard the TARDIS sound, so they both know that Rose is coming back. Hopefully coming back, and they both rush outside to try and meet them. They don't see the TARDIS, but then after a few seconds they look up and both witness the TARDIS flying in and quickly duck to miss being hit by it. It kind of skips a little bit and then finally lands in a corner, and after a few minutes Rose comes out pulling the Doctor with her. They both question what was with the crash landing and why Rose is carrying the stranger, to which she says it's the Doctor. They comment it's not the same Doctor that they know, and they fade to opening credits.
Oh, Jackie says Doctor Who, of course.
Yeah, of course they have to have someone say it.
It's not as bad as Asylum of the Daleks ending.
Yeah, an entire room of dogs chanting it.
It's not. It's also not as bad as the end of season 6,
Oh yeah.
where Moffat made it a actual
Are,
like main theme of the show.
are you and I the
Oh,
only ones who
Slantra.
saw the end of season 6?
I don't know if Erin saw the end of season 6. We know Matt hasn't because he refuses
I've
to.
seen-
I ignore that half of the season. Thank you very much.
Oh, we'll review it eventually. You'll have to watch it.
I've seen up until River Song marries the Doctor. That's how far I've seen.
Okay, that's the season finale.
Yeah, that's the end of season 6.
So you haven't seen all of season 7, and season 8 is coming up.
Yep.
To say if she's seen
'Cause I watch
season
it
8,
on
she's missing
Netflix.
out on this.
Netflix
So
doesn't
you've been
have
waiting for it to
series
come up
done
on
yet?
Netflix then.
Yeah, Netflix is still only up to 6. They're probably going to wait until
8 starts before they put up
Series
7.
8, episode 1 before adding a Series 7.
Mm-hmm.
For all I know,
That's
that's their
annoying.
agreement.
I would have thought Netflix would have had it within 3 months of the DVD release.
You would think,
they might not be allowed to have the current. They might not be allowed to air it while it's still considered the current season.
That's really dumb.
Yeah, that's really annoying, but that's not their rule, probably. Anyway, continuing with the opening, after we have our credits, we come to the Doctor being rested in, I believe it's Jackie's room, wasn't it? Or was it Rose's?
I'm not sure.
One of their rooms. One of their bedrooms. I know he was in a bed. I want to say it was Jackie's, but I can't remember for sure. He's being rested in the bed. They're trying to get. They're just watching over the Doctor, trying to get what little they can out of him, but he seems to be, for the most part, comatose. Rose did send her mother Jackie out to get some doctor's equipment so she could at least try to do a little bit of checking up what little she could with the doctor. She checks both hearts. They seem to be beating, but they, as usual, are beating a little bit fast. It's a regeneration. It happens. To which I believe Jackie had some lewd remarks about, does he have 2 of anything else?
Yeah.
And Rose is just like,
I don't
stop
think that's
it!
the last time we hear that line, too.
Yeah, that's not the last time we hear that line, but in particular, Rose is there, and she's like, stop it, and gets her out of the room.
This is the second Doctor that Rose has met by wanting to do things to them.
Wah, 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 wah. Anyway, they happen to have landed right around Christmas time, so I'm not entirely sure how long it's been, but I would guess it's been at least a couple months since Rose last left. Is my best guess on it, because it wasn't quite Christmas time yet. Christmas time tends to invade November more and more every year. I would assume it's not much different for Britain, but I can't say for sure. So it's probably at least been at least a couple of months for sure, and they have, I believe, they have a Christmas tree up in the apartment. Actually, no, Jackie comes in with a Christmas tree. I believe it was like on the doorstep or something.
Rose and Mickey go shopping.
Oh, that's right. They do try to take Rose out to go shopping, trying to take her mind off of things, but she continues to, as usual, worry about the Doctor and anything else that might be going on.
And during that particular outing, they are attacked.
That's right. They are finally attacked by these strange metal-faced Santas that then follow them back to the apartment.
Correct.
Once they get inside the apartment, they think they're safe because the Santas are just standing there watching for the time being. But however, one of them pulls out a controller, which is when we finally notice the Christmas tree for the first time.
Right.
To which Rose questions the Christmas tree, to which Jackie mentions that it was just on the doorstep or something. It was just outside waiting for them.
She thought it had been it came delivered. She thought it was from Rose.
Or yeah. Or didn't she have a boyfriend too, Jackie?
But no, she mentions that she thought it was from Rose because they had gone out shopping and then a Christmas.
So they gone out shopping and the Christmas tree appeared then afterwards. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, just as they're covering that, the Christmas tree literally floats up like a helicopter with different sections spinning in different directions and attempts to attack people by literally sawing its way through the walls. They barely manage to
furniture.
And furniture, but most notably the walls, because the walls are kind of thicker and supposed to hold a lot more. It manages to start getting into the bedroom with the doctor, and they manage to barely escape with him and get outside. I forget. I believe that as they get outside, the doctor sonics. Actually, as it's coming towards the doctor, he sonics it, and then they head outside.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm remembering. Yeah.
She tells him to help her. He all of a sudden wakes up and gets
Pretty much
suddenly sits up and zap.
Yeah.
Boom.
He bolts up with his dedicated expression on his face and blows it up.
And then goes remote control. Who's the controller?
And wanders outside, and they see the Santas. He then, I believe, points the Sonic in their direction, and they teleport off.
Mm-hmm.
He then, a few seconds later, collapses, and he's still having regeneration. Sparkles come out of him, and he mentions the fact that he's not quite done yet.
Mm-hmm. And he mentions that they were pilot fish.
Mm-hmm.
There were pilot
They're
fish. That
attracted
means
by
that the
his
bigger
power.
fish are coming.
Mm-hmm.
To which then we have a alien spaceship that pretty much lands over the entirety of London, and they start getting cryptic messages that they can't understand from skull-faced aliens. At least they look to be skull-faced at the time.
Yep. That's after swallowing England's Martian probe.
Santa Claus
And
must be
broke the probe.
conquered before the aliens can approach from Mars.
Martians
So-
conquer Santa.
Although I believe most of the humans throughout the planet don't understand it, but certain different parts of the government are working on a very quick translation as fast as possible, which they do finally start to get a few things here and there, but they haven't gotten a solid thing quite yet, until they mention something about a threat with blood. Then the next day, which I believe is Christmas Day, everyone with, I believe, a O negative or something?
O positive, I think.
O positive. It was O something. O
It's
positive
A
blood type
positive.
suddenly
A
becomes completely brainwashed, is going for a zombie walk outdoors, and then proceeds to walk to the very edge of every available rooftop they can find. Something at least high enough that if they fell off, it would possibly injure, if not kill them.
Yes, it should be noted at this point that the Prime Minister, who we have seen it to be, is Harriet Jones, who we last saw in World War III,
Just before she became Prime Minister.
is dealing with Unit, who we haven't seen since Battlefield. Or
Did-
actually,
did
we saw
we-
them a
She's
little
trying to get in
we saw them-
contact with Unit.
Did we not see Harriet Jones in Boomtown?
No,
No,
we
she
might have
didn't-
seen like a sign of her getting elected or something.
But we did not actually see her.
No. And we technically saw some Unit staff in Aliens of London, but they all died by the end of the episode.
Yeah, by the end of the first half.
But this is the first time we actually see Unit in functioning in the new series.
And they seem to be just barely keeping up. To be honest. They seem to be just barely even understanding what the aliens are even saying before they start making viable threats physically manifest.
Bill is right, it is A positive blood, by the way. Not
A
O
positive? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was an
Yeah,
O, but okay, it was an A
No,
positive.
it's A positive.
O positive would have been a much less effective threat.
I thought O was one of the bigger blood types, actually.
You know, the thing with O is that so few people O positive blood can accept varied blood.
Yeah,
from varied
the O positive
people.
can go to a lot of different people without having
Yeah.
ill effects.
I believe O in general is very rare as a result of that.
Yeah. It's just that it works well with almost any blood type. It's just that it's rare to begin with, maybe.
They said something about how it was like they estimated it was about a third of the population of the planet.
Yeah, they did, which sounded like a little much to me, but I thought maybe A and positive are both more popular than B, more common than B and negative. I don't really know. I don't have numbers to fall back on, or at least
Yeah, I don't know any numbers off the top of my head either, so I can't really call them on for sure. But it does seem a little bit much. Just a little bit.
Especially when you take into account like A negative. Isn't there such
Yeah,
a thing
there-
as A negative?
There are eight known blood types that I'm aware of.
Yeah, the positive or negative refers to the RH factor. And that affects transfusion ability. O positive, by the way, has 4 different blood types. It can transfer to all the positives, whereas O negative can transfer
Right.
to anybody.
But O positive cannot receive transfusion from anybody that's not O. Whereas AB can receive from pretty much anyone as long as the positive negative is in line.
Yep. Now, we're dealing with A positive, which can receive from O positive, O negative, and A negative only. If you've got a B in your blood type, you can't send it. I am looking to figure out if I can find approximately how many people have each blood type, but I'll let you know on that.
Yeah, let us know.
Actually,
We need to keep this going.
I'm actually kind of surprised. Apparently, A positive and O positive are each around 1/3 of the population of America, and the rest is split up between the others. Let me link you to my source and see if anyone can find any.
So there might be something to it then, a little bit.
I don't know how much to trust infoplease.com, but if it's a good source, O positive is the most common blood type in America.
Yeah. Okay, I can buy that, and with A positive being shortly behind it. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And being approximately 1/3 of the population, so.
Yeah, A positive is approximately 1/3, and O positive is 37 and a half. Yeah.
So yeah,
So between them, there's
some
like
viability.
71% of the population, almost 3/4. Got it.
So
Cool.
So yeah, all right. There's viability to this. Okay, cool. So
Doctor Who,
essentially what we have figured
actor?
out is that the aliens are using something to hypnotize essentially 1/3 of the entire world population to be ready to commit suicide at any moment. As people are trying to race together to try and figure out what's going on, the aliens do try to make contact with the heads of Britain in particular, since that's what they're all hovering over, and they teleport a couple of people from UNIT, as well as what's her name again? I'm so
Harriet
terrible with
Jones.
names. Harriet Jones.
I think it's
We know who
less
she
about
is.
where they are than
We
the fact
know who you are.
than the fact
Except I can't remember your name.
the fact that she was the first person to speak up.
Harriet Jones, Prime Minister.
Yeah. She says that, and everybody, including the aliens, say yes, we know.
Yes.
Well,
we
I've
know
got to
who-
say that their running gag gets a little weak when she's introduced to that one technician or whatever, and she's like, Harriet Jones, Prime Minister. And the girl's like, yes, ma'am, I know who you are, and then does not identify herself. And I'm like, wow, conceited much?
Yeah, Harriet did come off as a bit conceited.
Well, no, Harriet, her thing was she acted like nobody knew who she was, even though she was this thing.
And
Whereas
that was coming off of the old Harriet Jones MP for Flydale North.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, nobody knew who she was.
Right. Whereas the girl that she was introducing herself to, she knew who Harriet Jones was, but there's no way the Prime Minister knew who she was.
Oh.
Well, I think they
give a
were
name
actually
and
rushing
response.
through dialogue at the time, so she didn't really have time to introduce herself anyways.
No, she could have, she just went off into a different conversation, leaving Harriet Jones looking at her like, you're not going to introduce yourself?
I don't recall that bit, but okay, if you say so.
I don't really remember that either, but
Yeah, and Erin just watched it recently.
I don't know.
Maybe we just don't read it that way, but okay.
I mean, well, she wasn't too bad, but towards the end she did, I don't know. But she had to kind of put her foot down with the doctor. She's like, otherwise.
Yeah.
Well, we're not
Let
there
Matt
yet.
continue a summary, because we keep
Yeah, you keep interrupting. This has got to be the worst summary ever, and people are getting bored because you keep tangenting.
Really, Matt? Have you heard some of my summaries?
I only interrupt you because you keep forgetting things.
You know what? I meant when he
People
said
aren't
the
here
word-
for the long run. They're here for the short things. They're not here for every little detail.
And yet you spend about 4 minutes describing the TARDIS landing.
Because you keep pointing, need to cover it for some reason. That's why it kept getting covered over and over and over.
I was talking.
I'm
about
trying
the
to skip to the important details, and you keep forcing the small things.
I'm talking about.
I'm
the
about
word
ready to
summary.
give up this
Fine.
by now, by the way. This is getting ridiculous.
Maybe I should do the summary.
Maybe people won't interrupt you. Are we done now?
Continue.
Okay. Again, only the important details. She gets teleported up by aliens. They have noticed also the Doctor and his Sonic, and actually, I think they were catching on to the fact that he was still regenerating the energy from that, and thought that it might be a threat. So they also bring up the Doctor, or actually, everyone was inside the TARDIS, so they bring up the TARDIS with everyone else inside of it. To which Rose, Jackie, and I believe Mickey walk out.
Yes.
And they start questioning them, but they don't really have anything really good to say. So Rose just kind of goes off on a tangent of alien names that she happens to know that other aliens might know about at the particular time, since humans are out of the loop, just showing that she might be in the loop.
Actually, I think Jackie wasn't there because they were about to go out and check on her when they got.
Well, that's right. Actually, I
Jack-
think Jackie and Mickey
Jack
might still be on
walked out of
Earth.
the TARDIS,
They
Jack
went out to,
jumped
I
in.
believe, get some more refreshments, and they just happened to leave Rose, the Doctor, and the tea inside.
Yeah,
I think
she
Mickey
on
was
her,
there too.
She was on her way back to the TARDIS, and it just disappeared in front of her.
Mm-hmm. For sure, Jackie was left behind. I can't remember Mickey. Mickey's not
Speaking of
important
the way
right now.
it disappeared, remind me of something I want to mention later.
So, they try to do the best and holding off the aliens for at least a little while, hoping that the Doctor might come around. Which when they did leave the TARDIS, the thermos full of tea did knock over and was starting to pour out into the TARDIS under the console, and was starting
Into
to
the workings.
it was starting to steam up underneath the Doctor. So as
God, electrical fires. God.
So as Rose is talking with the aliens, all of a sudden in mid-sentence they start to everyone else's ears starting to talk English, to which they're just like, wait, I don't need to translate anymore. What was that? That was English. To which the alien just starts throwing insults that's not English. I don't waste my tongue on your pathetic words, etc., etc. But then
I
Rose
thought
is
that
like,
was
True
pretty cool,
Sycoraxy. Yeah.
yeah, Rose is like, well, wait, that means that it's being translated, which means that's the TARDIS working again. And if the TARDIS is working with that psychic connection again, that must mean, and she looks back to the TARDIS, to which we finally have the grand reveal of the Doctor on his own 2 feet.
As a token of his goodwill, the Doctor gives you these 2 droids.
Epic scale pan to the
To
TARDIS.
the doors, and the doors open to reveal the Doctor as he finally steps out, finally fully awake, to which,
and finally in full Tenet mode.
full 10
In his
mode, which
jammies.
he's going in his own little tangent, and even brings up the tea, which, oh yes, tea, wonderful tea, the tea helped, it woke me up. It finally helped stabilize the entire regeneration. Speaking of which, it seems I've woken up just in time. Oh, hello!
He just starts babbling. It's great. I actually cannot. Well, keep going, Matt.
But yeah, he babbles on for a few minutes, and it's this epic long tangent in which even the aliens start looking at him confused, because he's going on this equal parts nonsensical, but just as sensical tangent, and then he pulls out of the blue, he pulls out, oh, and look at this, and he runs off, coming up to this big giant device with a red button on top. Oh, it's a big giant red button, and what
That
are
should
red
never,
buttons
ever
for?
be
It's a
pressed.
red buttons are. He actually does test. There is a blood sample underneath it, and he's like, oh, yeah, A positive, and he comes back up, and it's a giant red hooked up to a giant red button. And what should you ever do with a giant red button? You should never actually push it. Slams his hand on it, and everyone on the Earth wakes up instantly. Essentially, what the device was meant to be is that the red button was supposed to be the activation to actually have people kill themselves. However, the thing that all the humans don't know about offhand is that telepathic hypnosis like this only works up until the point that it would threaten someone's life, in which case it immediately breaks connection.
Unless you ask the
Voodoo.
3rd Doctor.
It depends upon the Doctor, but it also depends upon the device that you're working with, I would assume, too. And I would assume that the Doctor would know offhand whether or not the device would go all the way, and obviously he knew it wouldn't. To which the aliens still say they're going to try and invade the Earth, to which the Doctor challenges the alien leader to a duel, while using also their own alien tongue for a few moments, which got a huge roar
Yeah,
from the
I can't even
aliens.
say it. I used to be able to pronounce that word perfectly.
Mm-hmm. So they finally go outside and have their duel. After a few moments, the Doctor does have his hand chopped off, but because he's still reforming, he regenerates a new hand, to which these, I believe it's the Secret, is that what they're called?
Sycorax.
The Sycorax leader goes, "That's magic." To which he's like, "No, Time Lord. And this hand, it's a fighting hand." He goes back into the fight and actually,
He actually uses a bit of a deep South accent. Kind of cool.
yeah, a little bit of the South, but he finally does defeat the leader. He is about to leave the leader behind, but he knows that the leader is getting up behind him. With a quick minor warning from Rose, he pulls out a bit of fruit from the robe, tosses it behind him, hits a panel, and releases the ground underneath the leader, sending him plummeting to his death.
Yeah.
They are obviously the victors in this, and the doctor mentions the fact that he is not a second chances doctor. You only get one warning, and you leave when I say you leave. And he gives them the others the last warning before they are teleported back down to Earth. When they are finally teleported back down to Earth, my God, why does my brain keep forgetting names?
It's Harriet Jones.
Harriet Jones again, yeah. Harriet Jones finally gets in contact with Torchwood. Frel, my mouth does not want to do names. She finally gets in touch with Torchwood, which she has mentioned briefly once or twice previously in the episode. Getting in touch with Torchwood, she finally gives them an okay to do something, and as the Sycorax ship is leaving, a giant beam of alien weapon technology shoots off from the planet in London somewhere, and goes up and hits the ship and explodes it.
You just say the Death Star fires, man.
Essentially, yeah, but they need to know what actually happens. Does it actually hit? Yes, it does. It's more than a warning. It's a deadly warning to anyone else, and they actually have a fight between Harriet and the Doctor as to that was too far. No, it isn't. You keep saying it, Doctor. We keep sending off all these messages to space that we're friendly, but we have to also stick to our guns every once in a while, and you're not always here to protect us. The Doctor does not quite like this, so he threatens that he could ruin her with a word. And then I believe he improves it up to 3 words?
4 words.
4 words.
6. 6 words.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Six.
Does he? Okay, he does go
right.
up all the way to 6. All I remember is he comes up to the other guy that was doing the translations before they could hear everything in English and goes, "Doesn't she look old? Doesn't she look tired?
Doesn't she look a bit tired?
A bit tired."
I thought it was don't you think she looks tired?
Don't you think... It might be. That's also 6 words. But I know it was tired.
Yes.
Don't you think she
Think
looks tired? Yeah. A bit tired would add like 2 extra words in there that don't need to be there.
I feel like the Doctor going, "Don't you think she looks old?" would kind of be really.
Yeah. Don't you think she looks tired?
I didn't know. I didn't remember the "you think." I thought a bit instead of "you think," but
I could have sworn "Don't you think" was where you started off.
I could be wrong. Like I said, I have not watched this recently.
I haven't watched it immediately recently either, but it's something along those lines. It's essentially, doesn't she look tired? And more or less leaves it at that. And Harriet's like, "What? What did you tell him? What? What?" And then he just walks off angry without saying a word to her. As they are sitting around having their Christmas meal, they do see on the news that she is quitting being Prime Minister. Apparently, also questioning why everyone thinks she looks tired. She does not. She looks. She's stating that she looks fine. She feels fine. She can still do her job, but she ends up, I believe, getting voted against, and they've replaced her with a new Prime Minister.
We don't actually know that in the episode.
We do know that she is replaced by the time that she appears again.
Yeah, because by season 3, they're electing a new prime minister.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and that's a major plot point, actually.
Yeah, it's a little different how British elections work. Is that they're not on a fixed schedule.
Yeah, I've heard a large criticism of the Russell T Davies era is that he kind of pretends that British politics are performed in the way that American politics are, and I've seen scenes that would indicate that. Even to me, not really knowing British policy, I can see where he leans toward American for some reason.
I actually don't see that. I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Like telling the public to vote Harold Saxon for Prime Minister.
Yeah,
they do that.
Yeah,
I
they
was
do.
under the impression the public does not have any opportunity to pick the prime minister. They pick their minister, and then the parliament votes amongst themselves for prime minister.
I actually thought they did have a general election for
They,
prime
they do
minister.
have a general election.
I thought their
Last I
general
checked, in Britain, they do
like
have.
I didn't think their general elections were for prime minister.
Yeah,
Like, I thought it
there
was,
are
I thought
people voting for
I
prime
thought it was
minister.
more.
It's
I thought it
not
was more
that
like
different than voting president
I
in
thought it
that
was more like
respect.
in the Senate for Star Wars. They elect their representative, and then the representatives from there elect who's in charge of them.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I was pretty sure there was an actual prime minister election. The thing is that it can generally who can announce the election for prime minister is the prime minister,
Yeah,
but they have to hold one election every 5 years. Um, they
just to be
they
fair.
have to,
Yeah.
which mean and they cannot hold it. I think any more than a year apart. Um, so basically, if you've had a year and you've had a good year, you run another election so you can stay in power. If you're not having a good year, you try to hold off that election as long as you can so you can turn opinion around.
Mm-hmm.
But as I was thought it was a general election.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, it was. Unless I don't understand it, but that's the way I've understood it and heard it. Even from other British people, and we know a couple British people, I thought. I know Andrew, and a number of us know Lucas. But I haven't exactly talked a ton of politics with them either.
Yeah, exactly. When the only time I've talked politics was bitching about Hollywood film consumers in America.
I actually have talked a tiny bit of politics with Andrew. And he's like, yeah, we essentially, what you Americans call Republicans, yeah, we kind of voted them in by accident. Yeah. But that's another story. But yeah, that essentially covers the basics for this story.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much.
Okay, yeah,
We're tangent on politics, which is a weird thing, but yeah, we pretty much finished.
Minister, but let's not make this a. That would be something for a different episode when we do the master.
Yeah, and we also were dabbling a little bit there with
have to do the
season
master
3. Let's not
eventually.
do season 3 just yet, shall we? Not quite there yet. We're not going season by season yet.
One thing I'll mention in this episode is that they missed a huge opportunity.
Oh?
And that is when they said, "How did we get here?" And she says, "I don't know, but I believe it's called a," and then uses a term that is not the Doctor Who term.
I think she used teleporter or something like that. Teleport. Yeah.
And actually, the thing is that teleport and transmat tend to be bandied back and forth quite a bit in the new series.
Yeah.
To the
but I
fact
think it
that, like,
starts-
2 episodes back to back, one will be teleport and the other one it'll be transmat. Now,
Although-
if she used the term transporter,
Actually,
that would
that's
be
what it
where
was.
I would.
I think in Boomtown it was teleport. In Bad Wolf Parting of the Ways it was transmap.
Mhm.
And in the following episode was the Christmas invasion.
Yep.
So exactly episodes back to back.
Yep. And I
With the
think part
same
of the
writer.
difference is that transmat is actually a system developed somewhere in the 21st century, according to Doctor Who now.
Yeah, I'm thinking that transmat tends to be a more futuristic thing, whereas teleport is more of a modern term.
They used transmat in the 1960s.
When?
Remembrance of the Daleks.
Yeah, but that was Dalek.
That was
technology.
Daleks, and the Daleks are also technically time travelers.
Yeah.
Didn't they do it with the Ice Warriors? One of the earlier Ice Warriors. Well, they're all kind
A
of
lot of the
Yeah,
Ice
but that
Warriors
was-
stuff are in the future, though.
with
Yeah,
the
that
moon.
was-
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
happening in the 21st century, where the Ice Warriors were taking over the TMAT Central,
Mm-hmm.
which was somewhere in the mid 21st century. So you can assume at that point that TMAT had been created
Yes.
at like 10 to 20 years earlier, because I remember the same serial had a disgruntled rocket builder who was pissed off at the creation of Transmat that basically shut him down.
It's got our germs!
There's no more rockets.
It's a good job.
It's good job.
They gave it to these machines.
And I actually understand that now because I've watched enough South Park. Okay. So the first part deals mostly with the pilot fish, the killer Santas.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
And a
what we'll talk
recovering
about
doctor.
first.
Santa
What's
that
that?
was not
And a recovering doctor, but yeah, mostly for our beginning threat, yeah, it's the pilot fish.
Yeah.
Yep.
I really was hoping that they were going to bring back the Autons when I first saw this episode. I was like, oh, cool, they made the Autons scary again. Was it Autons? Yeah.
Yautons, yeah.
I keep getting the Autons confused with the Axums.
Yeah, the
Really?
Axons or
I
something
don't
else
think the
entirely.
Axons
Yeah.
ever reappeared.
I used to get them confused with the Nestine that control the Autons all the time.
Mm-hmm. I
But
was like,
I've gotten it cleared up now.
All I know
yeah,
is
it's,
the interesting thing is I don't think they use the word Auton at all in Series 5 or Series 1.
No, they said it in Series 5.
Oh
They
yeah, they
refer to
mentioned
him
in
as an
Series
Auton?
5.
They mentioned that Rory's an Auton.
Yes.
Okay.
They said point blank, Rory's an Auton. All the soldiers there are Autons. Get out of there.
But I do know
Was
that
actually a message from River
Wow,
Soft to
but
the doctor.
Series 1 they were just living plastic creatures.
watching that for the first time without having watched the Third Doctor era, I had no idea that what Rory was in Series 5 was connected to the Series 1 opening.
Well, there was the little things like the opening hand into a gun thing, which is an Auton thing. Also, I think they may have said Auton only once in that first episode of Rose, maybe. I can't remember for sure, and if it was anyone who said it, it was only the Doctor. But then, in order to make it more simple for everyone to understand, living plastic creatures, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it would have been. I think it would have been cooler if those Santas were Autons.
yeah.
It would have
Like,
made it a
I
little
like-
more interesting.
I feel like it would have hurt the revelation of the Sycorax. Like the whole point was that this weaker alien race that just sees the Doctor as a power source comes, gets defeated easily, and then the much more dangerous enemy shows up, and the Doctor is passed out from beating the first guy.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I was actually.
yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
don't think the Sycorax should have been in here. I would have been just fine with having the pilot fish wind up being the Autons.
Like a bigger group of them, yeah.
Yeah, a bigger group.
Bigger group
Like,
of
I
Autons
don't
that show
think
up.
In fact, I'm kind of like the Sycorax were actually kind of disappointing to me.
The Sycorax were Klingons, kind of.
Kind of.
Eh,
I
without
think you
They're
lost.
very much a warrior race.
Yeah, that's what I meant. They were
Yeah.
a warrior race that had some kind of warrior code that they were dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
The call had kind of dropped me for a minute. Who were you saying should have been there?
Erin was saying that the Sycorax shouldn't have been there at all and should have been Autons.
Right.
With a bigger fleet.
When I came
Yeah,
out, I was
just-
talking about warrior race, so I'm assuming Centaurans or Ogrons or something.
No, the Sycorax again.
I
So.
think Russell T Davies didn't want to do that because he didn't want to have another season start with Autons and end with Daleks.
Right.
Maybe, yeah. Technically.
you could have changed it up a little bit, but
It
having
wouldn't
Autons
it wouldn't have been
work
the same Autons anymore, especially with the freaky Santas.
Then everyone
have
would
the
have.
Autons able to control metal now instead of
Now,
plastic.
I feel like bringing back the Autons with new tricks would have been a little too similar to a different series opener back in Russell's childhood.
What? You're being too vague.
Yeah, you're being way too vague.
Series 8 also did the same. I mean, Season 8, sorry. Season 8 did the same thing.
Oh, when they did Terror of the Autons?
Yeah,
I thought that was Series 9, but oh well.
it was 7 and 8.
Okay.
Well, that wasn't really a totally new bag. It was just that they were hiding the fact that they were autons by putting these giant heads on them. That's pretty much all they really changed up on that, and they used more different plastic devices.
Their new trick was largely a renegade Time Lord, but still.
Oh, the Master's in it. The Master's helping the autons instead of the big consciousness. That's not really a major development twist. It's just a different leader.
My point is that the pilot fish were actually far more threatening feeling than the Sycorax felt. I was more scared of the pilot fish than I was of the Sycorax.
I have to admit, creepy Santas are really damn creepy.
Yeah, that's why they came back again a Christmas later.
Maybe I just watched too many Santa slasher films, but I was just like, these are the least intimidating Santas I've ever seen. But I spent like a large amount of time trying to figure out why the Sycorax sent pilot fish ahead of them. Until I finally realized they're not related at all.
No, they're not.
That's kind of a weird thing.
They're not related. It's just that the pilot fish are there first, and then comes the big ones.
Yeah, and that seems like way too much of a coincidence, considering they're not after the same thing at all.
Yeah, I don't think Russell did a great job at linking that together. I mean, the reason why you see a pilot fish in front of a school of sharks is that they have a symbiotic relationship.
Although both of them did notice the Doctor because of the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, because the pilot fish were after the regeneration energy, whereas the
Sycorax was just after the planet.
Why the fuck are you hiding a TARDIS?
Actually, I thought they found out about the TARDIS and the Doctor because they kept finding the readings for his regeneration energy.
The only description I saw was that they found a foreign piece of technology and
beamed it up.
Accused the humans of hiding it, yeah.
Yeah, it was like they were already there and planning to conquer before they even knew the TARDIS was there. So, Russell really didn't do the best of jobs linking A to B.
Which is why it's also a very forgivable background plot point, is that fact that the satellite went disappearing.
In comparison, and I'm going to go back to a classic Doctor Who episode, The Invasion of Time. Where Gallifrey is first invaded by the Vardans, and the Vardans turn out, once they're defeated, to be the front men for the Sontarans.
Yep.
There, it really was a relationship that they were connected. The Sontarans were actually using them as a front. Right. With the kind of subtly urging them to attack Gallifrey, and if they succeeded, they were planning on basically barging in and taking over from the Vardans.
Or even in the series finale, the connection between the Daleks and the Cybermen, where the Daleks accidentally let the Cybermen in because of the Dalek ship traveling through. At least that's a connection between why they happen at the same time.
Yes. Either way, you've got some relationship, whereas these seem to be two completely unrelated attacks happening at the same time.
Never ignore a coincidence, unless you're busy. Then always ignore a coincidence.
But that aside, what do you think of the pilot fish, since we have no other really name of them other than Robot Santas? And we actually never knew who was controlling the Robot Santas.
I think the assumption might be that the returning Robot Santas next year were maybe the same group, only upgraded, but we can't guarantee that either.
Yeah.
No, because I think they... Oh, no, I think they mentioned... I might be wrong, but I think she mentioned, like, essentially finding them and programming them to work for her.
Yeah,
so they might have been the same ones, just that she upgraded them then.
Yeah, basically she found what the Doctor left behind and took it for herself.
As any good villain
so we don't
would.
really know who was controlling the Robot Santas.
Maybe they're just a group of Robot Santas.
It was some alien force that was after the Doctor's regeneration energy, but we don't know who. We've never been told who.
It was Madame Kevorkian.
Okay, it was the silence. Yeah, there we go.
Maybe we don't know. Maybe.
Either that, or maybe it was the Great Intelligence.
That's also a possibility.
Nah, he would have just killed the Doctor when he was weak. Would have killed him with a few Yeti.
Massive patches of duct tape used to cover up plot holes serve our purposes here.
There's so many possible excuses we could go on for hours. To be honest.
Little do we know that it was actually the Anthony Ainley Master. Wanting the regeneration energy for himself.
Ah,
Dun dun dun.
Doctor, this time I'll get you. This time I'll get you. Okay, enough speculation. Other than that part, what did you think of them?
I thought they were quite
thought that they
effective.
were
I don't know
scarier
about
than
Bill,
anything
but I've
else in the
seen
show
I've
at this
seen
point.
at least reviews of the slasher Santa movies, but I still thought they were quite effective for what they were.
Considering the previous episode gave us the android and a massive fleet of Daleks, I was underwhelmed.
Keep out the weak link. Goodbye.
Do you realize
course,
you're still teleporting them back to the ship? Yeah, but at least
Anne
it slows them
Roberts
down.
by herself is pretty damn intimidating.
Well,
You
for
make a
me,
robot version of her, she's just more intimidating.
With a
Go
laser.
ahead. Go ahead, Erin.
For me, I had already seen so much of the Daleks and the Cybermen that this was something new. This was kind of something that was kind of cool and weird and didn't quite make a whole heck of a lot of sense.
It did. Yeah, it didn't make a lot of sense, but it was a new taking something that we see a lot of and making it threatening all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
Which is usually what Doctor Who is good at. And then it goes from that into just blah, alien of the week.
Yeah, we'll discuss the Sycorax a little later.
Mm-hmm.
Although we are getting down to like half an hour left, so
Yeah.
Um,
Oh wow, really? Time flies when you're
yeah,
having
we've
fun.
we've tangented and stalled so much.
Yes. Yes, you have been. Shake fist.
Anyway, so yeah.
Wow,
So you
I
didn't
just
think they were
realized what a
scary?
terrible person I am. I just thought if I was Russell T Davies with Killer Santas attacking, somebody would have been taking out the garbage and died. And Matt gets that reference. I don't know about anybody else.
Mm-hmm. Actually, we might be able to get Erin in on the reference if we do this. Garbage Day! Aha!
I will remain deliberately clueless.
Garbage day.
So that's
I
3 out of
choose to
4.
remain deliberately clueless. Thank you very much.
It's a meme. It's a meme with a Santa movie.
Okay, all right. Anyway,
Then you don't know me well, do you?
that's what you said. You pretty much said that.
For what I said about the Santas. Okay, yeah. They're
I'm
alright.
killing your meme, Matt. Because we need to get this because we will need at least 10 minutes for wrap up. Anyway, so moving on to Sycorax. Erin didn't like them. Matt.
They're alright. At first, they look like you just tilt your head and you look at them at first, and they're like, bug-eyed aliens? Really? You're gonna drop the Santas for that? And while it is a cool reveal that those are only helmets, it's still... they're alright.
I like them. My only problem was I think a little too much of Russell's sense of humor got into this story. And I kind of, like the Sycorax became more and more goofy as the episode went on.
Not so much goofy, so much as unprepared for someone as smart as the Doctor.
Yeah, the Doctor pretty much proceeded when he stepped out of the TARDIS to start eating up their scenery.
Not to mention taking their intimidation and handing
Yeah,
it right back to
he
them,
was-
saying, "Here,
He
don't
was
need it."
literally sucking the badass out of them.
Yeah,
Yes, he was. His badass pretty much just blew their badass out of the water. And other than that, I actually liked them when they came up because they reminded me of a few other like classic Doctor Who aliens that we had seen but hadn't seen for years.
such as
A little bit of the Draconians, but less civilized.
Oh, in the means of the Warriors with Honor kind of thing. Yeah, a little
Yeah,
bit.
like an up
Yeah,
and
I would like
coming.
to see the Draconians come back. Actually, they'd
Oh,
be
I
a
would love
nice
to see the
upgrade.
Draconians. I would think
You know,
that'd be
come to think
freaking
of it,
awesome.
They could have some really nice upgrade. Anyway, Bill.
I was just thinking that that's what the Klingons could have been like during this time period.
It was. I mean, they were very Klingon with the Code of Honor thing, but less so with the appearance and the harsh language. They both have the harsh language things going. So I kind of liked him, but that might have just been my little inner Star Trek geek going. They're kind of Klingon.
They're
That's
kind of Klingon, and that's kind of cool with me.
What did you guys think of the whole magic thing they had going on, where like the blood control as sorcery and referring to the regeneration as witchcraft?
Oh, obvious that they hadn't come up from their barbaric roots
Completely yet, yeah. They knew how it worked. They just didn't know. They knew what made it work. They just didn't know how it worked.
or they knew that they were essentially like space Mongols, if you think about it.
Or they just kind of referred to technology as magic because that was what kept things simple for them.
Well, no, what I mean by space Mongols is they kind of invaded and they took whatever they needed, but they didn't bother to learn the whens and whys and whos behind it and kind of moved on. Or maybe that was the Huns. I get them confused.
Most of what I know from the Huns came from a Disney movie, so it should be completely discounted.
Yeah. Actually, I was just going to reference Warhammer
I know the
40k, and
entire
essentially these are orcs.
I know the entire horde of them could not get through the doors of the TARDIS, and they have tried.
As I was saying, it's kind of almost apt to refer to them as the Warhammer 40k orcs, because that's kind of what the orcs do, only they are even more crazy than that, but that's further details. But essentially, they're orcs in space.
They're orcs. They're orcs in space.
Looking at them, looking at
Flying
that way,
around,
it
threatening
makes
the
them a little,
human race.
makes them a little more kind of fun when you think of them that way. But I
Yeah.
was still kind of disappointed. But
Yeah, it's still not the greatest thing, and I would like to actually see them come back just so we could flesh them out more, to be honest.
That'd be kind
Yeah.
of cool.
they were a little bit one note.
They were a little too one-note. They need to be fleshed out a little bit more. They need to be given more time to be fleshed out. There was between the Doctor regenerating, getting used to the Doctor, still having a bad time with the regeneration, and having these other quick guest monsters threaten them with the Santa suits and everything. It kind of took away from them to begin with, and then the Doctor kind of stole their thunder from right underneath them. Kind of made them a little underwhelming in the end note too.
Yeah, because pretty much.
But then again, that's the Doctor's job, is it not?
Yeah, pretty much. My opinion is from the moment David Tennant stepped out of the TARDIS to the point where they beamed them all back to Earth. He's basically in one gigantic crowning moment of awesome.
Mm-hmm. He's rolling all 20s.
Yeah. He's pretty much just
He's suddenly the luckiest bastard. He's rolling pinky.
the badass Doctor.
All 20s. He failed his reflex check.
He only failed it once, which means that essentially he's rolling Randy's pinky.
He succeeded his Constitution check after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you, Matt, for bringing up my pink D20.
If there's anything I can't forget, it's that pinky. You love the pinky.
Hey, it does pretty damn well.
Yes, it does, and it suits you well for that.
Anyway, he just has this. I mean, this was the point. This episode, that scene, is basically what sold David Tennant to me as a Doctor.
Wow,
Oh, yeah.
I just realized the Christmas invasion is pretty much what I just was trying to describe about Godzilla.
Oh.
How so?
Where it's all where it's all a slow episode with some teases, and then the last few minutes
Totally make up
determines
for
how
it.
you feel about the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Yeah, the last act is full of awesome.
Yeah, because that whole scene is what sold David Tennant to me as the Doctor, which was their purpose, was to sell him.
Which is essentially the purpose of the entire episode, to be honest. Which is why he can easily steal that thunder at that particular point.
Mm-hmm.
He
He came out loaded for bear. Erin, what do you think of that whole scene there at the end?
with with the
fight sequence
sword
and the
fight
doctor
and
with the
everything?
doctor coming out until the end of the fight.
the whole ending the blood control thing.
Just
I
all
thought
the
it was
doctor
pretty
moment.
cool.
Yeah.
I
And-
definitely enjoyed it watching a second time, more so than the first time.
Do you have any idea why?
No, I don't know. It's kind of, I don't, yeah.
She doesn't quite remember why she didn't like it as much the first time, but seeing it again, it's like.
I remember just being very underwhelmed by everything. The monsters just weren't very good for me, and like I said, I wish they had gone along with the pilot fish more, but
But then again, their connection to the big sharks was also very, very loose.
Very tenuous.
yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
guess.
So I sorry to interrupt, but I just discovered that Matt Smith apparently recently was in a film named Lost River. And I don't know if that's a coincidence or not, but
I think it's a
Digression
coincidence,
over,
but it's
you can
an
go back-
amusing coincidence.
you can go back to the conversation. I just happened to notice.
Yep.
Mhm.
Back to the main plot.
Okay, so yeah. By the way, Bill, what did you think of Tennant's whole scene there?
I think every time Tennant was, every time Tennant was on, basically, yeah, that entire everything from when Tennant walks out of the TARDIS up until they land back on Earth is brilliant.
Okay. And
Although
Matt?
I didn't get
Okay,
the
go
Arthur
ahead.
Dent joke the first time I watched it.
Okay. Well, yeah, we had to sell you on Hitchhikers.
He didn't get the what joke? He didn't get the what
You
joke
didn't
now?
get the very saving the world in his Jim Jams. How
Oh.
very Arthur Dent.
How very Arthur Dent, yes. Yes, it was very Arthur Dent. Just this person out of nowhere comes and saves the world, even though he probably didn't mean to.
Yeah. So, what did you think of that scene, Matt?
He definitely kind of stole the show out of nowhere, and to be honest, in a show called Doctor Who, he's completely and totally allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Just don't make it a regular thing, but in this particular instance, since we're trying to buy into a new Doctor, yeah, I'll take it.
You know, and that is kind of what separates David Tennant from Matt Smith. Is David Tennant had this tendency to, swagger out and save the day at least once or twice a series. Usually, during the finale at the very least.
Mm-hmm.
And Smith tended to swagger out and then let his companion save the day. Be it Amy or River
Or Clara.
or Clara.
Clara actually did last time, yeah.
It is kind of the difference between RTD's style and Moffat's style is that in RTD's mind the show is Doctor Who. It's about the Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why I don't like David Tennant so much. It's because I find him to be a little bit too arrogant to really be enjoyable.
It's not the fact that he's being arrogant, it's just the fact that I think the problem is that some of us older fans, I repeat some, are very much of the ilk that this is Doctor Who. The Doctor should be the main character, since that's what it became after the first couple seasons originally.
I feel like 1, 3, 4, and 6 were just as arrogant.
Yes, but at the same time, there is a balance, and both Russell T Davies and Stephen Moffat are on opposite ends of that balance.
Yeah.
And I think the good part is somewhere in the middle. Yes, there are times the Doctor will step out and save the day. There's also times that he will step out and fall flat on his face. Sometimes within the same show.
Sometimes within the same episode, yeah.
To me, it kind of felt like it was being the David Tennant show and not Doctor Who.
Which is interesting because I kind of felt that David Tennant's first season was still the Rose show.
Yeah, she was actually kind of annoying in this. Like, I really wanted. I was like, oh, okay, I don't mind Rose as a companion. She's okay. And then, like, I saw her in this. I'm like, oh.
That's how I felt the first time I saw this episode, definitely. anyway. I've kind
Yeah.
of,
Again, I kind of pointed out to Bill that you kind of need to see the interim to see why she's kind of gone from where she was at the end of series 1 to this.
She's still
The
kind
problem
of
is-
shell-shocked.
Yeah, the thing is, she doesn't really improve because she goes from shell shocked
from
to kind of
after this episode,
Ralph.
she's pretty much the
Whoa.
doctor's girlfriend.
She goes from shell-shocked to flirty rather quickly with him.
and
Yeah,
bitchy.
I felt that she was actually kind of nasty with Jackie. I'm just like, you
I
talk
didn't
to
see-
your mother
I
like this?
feel like if Jackie was my mother, I'd be kind of nasty too.
Yeah,
Yeah, it seems very much like you're being harsh, but it's understandably harsh between family members kind of deal.
Like I'm not that much nicer to my mother than she is to Jackie. I am a
my
pimp,
mother
but my
and I,
mother's not quite as bad as Jackie either.
my mother and I share the relationship between Roseanne and Darlene on the old Roseanne sitcom.
Daddy!
She says something, and I respond with biting sarcasm, and she responds with sarcasm to my biting sarcasm, and we try to out-sarcasm each other.
So, wait, Randy, does this mean that your mother's a domestic goddess?
That's right, you've never had her cooking.
No, I haven't.
You probably never will, since she's in Canada. But my mother is, in my opinion, one of the best cooks on the planet, so...
So, she technically is Roseanne, then. From at least the Roseanne show. To a degree. Not quite as over the top, of course. Or is she? That's up
But
to
of
you,
course,
Randy.
you know, a lot of if their mother is a decent cook, a lot of people will think that.
There.
Because
My
it's the
mother's
food.
not a decent cook. My mother is a pretty bad cook. My dad's a worse
Let's
cook.
see.
You had some of my mother's cooking, Erin. You had it July 4th. Remember when we were out at their trailer?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I liked it.
See, my mother's cooking has been described, actually, hopefully she's not listening at my door, but it's been described in the same way that Rose describes David Tennant's hair in this episode.
Oh?
Kind of
Sort
sticky uppy.
No, it's just that's a few seasons away. No, it's just sort of brown.
Yeah.
Wow.
See, there's this thing called the gift in my family, and I have it. And
Cooking?
I inherited it from my mother, who inherited it from her mother, who inherited it from her mother. How I got it, I'm not certain, but
Only child?
Possibly. It does contribute to a mild case of gender dysphoria on occasion. But that is the fact that that matriarch line can all cook beautifully until they hit 65 years of age. Might be 70. Somewhere in there. Then immediately they go from awesome cook to oh my god, what is that?
Either that or
It's
they've
Better hurry up, Aaron. He's only got about
Die.
30 more years left to go.
All taste buds die, and your brain starts substituting the weirdest shit for other shit.
While they're cooking at that age, they decide that they really think that everybody is a Vogon, and they really hate Vogon.
It's like, well, the recipe called for raisins, but I didn't have any raisins, so I used gummy bears.
Oh,
Yeah, it's that bad.
Interesting choice.
It's that bad.
that's how my sister feels about when my father cooks, because when he makes meatloaf, he'll just raid the fridge for whatever hasn't been used and mix it in with it.
Erin's
Ooh.
just about had my meatloaf, only I make it in burger form.
Yeah, your guys are making me hungry now.
Food.
Yeah,
Gummy
I
bears.
described my burger making process to my roommate. It's like, oh, meatloaf burgers, and I'm like, really? Anyway, so yeah, we can pretty much all agree that that scene is pretty epic. Although Erin thinks that it's a little too much. I think is that what you said?
She thought it was a little too much the first time around, at least.
Yeah, it's
And-
okay. I mean, I like it a bit better. I don't hate David Tennant. I think he's a pretty capable actor and everything. And I think because I acknowledged that, I was a little bit more entertained by this now. Whereas when I first saw it, I was just like, wait a second, who is this guy? What makes him... He actually reminded me a bit of River Song.
Like I said, he's rolling 20s right now. And he's allowed to because it's his first episode right here.
The Doctor can be a bit of a Marty Stew, but he's the main character, so that's kind of allowed.
Only up to a certain point, though.
Yeah. To a certain point, yeah. Like I said, I like the fact that, like with Tom Baker, Tom Baker would be just as arrogant as David Tennant. The thing is, he would then proceed to go out, do something, and fall flat on his face and go, "Oh my God, I've been an idiot." And then proceed to work his way back to the victory.
Mm-hmm. Whereas this one for Tennant, this is the first time, and it's only a short amount of time, so they can't really do the fall on his face and get back up again.
David Tennant would see a rabbit and think it was a Zygon.
Yeah, there were a few little scenes like that. He'll do that kind of stuff with the minor things, but there's points where the Doctor will be like right in mid work in the Fourth Doctor era, like in episode 2 or the beginning of 3, and realize he's been on the wrong line all the time. And has to completely change his game plan. And that's something that I think David Tennant doesn't do enough of, and that Matt Smith does way too much of.
Yeah. Again, we're dealing also with totally different head writers going in totally different directions with what the Doctor Doctor Who should work and what the Doctor should be.
But the goal of this episode is to sell you David Tennant as being the Doctor.
And since he has a very limited amount of time, we can allow him to be almost perfect on this one.
Yeah, with the 10 minutes of screen time given that he's not unconscious.
And the interesting thing is maybe just because of Dalek, but I kind of pictured 9 as being more physical of a Doctor than 10 or 11. But yet, I don't think we ever saw Eccleston in anything near this kind of an action scene.
No, this is the first time we'd actually seen the Doctor get in a full-on fight like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was very
Sylvester
physical.
McCoy got in a sword fight once.
But it was not by his own
Doctor.
accord. I mean, this was... The Doctor pretty much flat-out challenged the guy to a duel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of a little bit of Third Doctor right there.
True.
And I think it was supposed to be a duel to the death.
Which, again, a Third Doctor thing that he would possibly do. He's done more than a couple duels in his round.
And it did end up being a duel to the death. He tried to do the whole, I'm the Doctor, I show mercy, I won't kill you if you listen to me. Oh, but you're not listening.
But you're not listening, bye!
Oh, you're trying to back attack me, yeah.
No second chances, I'm that sort
And
of man.
I still say when he threw that Satsuma, he threw it hit the button, and bounced back. What's
I don't
that,
think so.
Erin?
No, it did not.
I don't think so.
It hit a button, and if you'll see like part of the ship kind of closes. It's like a platform that shuts down.
I think it does fall down with him, but I don't think it hits him and knocks him out.
Yeah, the platform kind of shifts open, and the guy drops down into the clouds.
Okay. I'll have to watch that again.
Yeah, I don't see where the Satsuma goes. It just hits a button, and that's the last I recall seeing it.
Satsumas, by the way, are a fruit related to tangelos, but not officially. They look like tangelos, but unlike tangelos, which are created, these are natural, and they're called Satsumas because they originally came from Satsuma, Japan.
I want to know how much
And they're also known as Christmas oranges. Just an FYI. They're known because they're one of the few cold climate oranges.
I just want to know how much fruit did this guy have in his robe? Like, were his pockets bigger on the inside?
Yes, didn't you know?
That's at least the second piece of fruit that he pulled out of that robe.
At least, yeah, in that particular story.
I actually want to see Jackie's boyfriend to know what kind of person he is that he's having an apple and an orange in his robe at all times because he gets hungry while he sleeps. So he can sleep snack. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I get hungry when if I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm hungry, I go to the kitchen, man.
Yeah.
I go to the kitchen and I find fruit or I make a sandwich or something.
Right.
Usually all I need is a glass of water.
Occasionally, well, my eating habits aren't the best right now, and I'll admit that.
Yeah, sometimes I'll have like a craving. I can't go to sleep until I have cheese.
Yeah.
Sometimes I dream about cheese.
It's like I'll wake up and I'll suddenly be like, you know, what I want is a peanut butter sandwich.
I just made a reference and nobody got it. Yay
I
me!
got the
High
fact that it's
five.
a reference, but not what to.
Okay, yeah, so is mine, Erin. I haven't eaten today at all.
Yeah, stomachs are grumbling, we are tangenting, and we've roughly
Yes,
got about
okay,
5
so-
minutes.
Yeah, we've got about 5 minutes. We can probably push it a little longer, but let's try not to.
Not
So,
too
let's
long.
go to final thoughts.
So,
Bill.
No. Ha.
This.
I
Caught you off guard.
flat-footed. Bonus
Catch me
points.
flat-footed because, unlike the Doctor, I do not have levels in Rogue. At least not me. I really did not like this episode when I first watched it. That was partially because I was marathoning Doctor Who at the time, and I watched all of Series 1 and jumped straight into this. And it seems to be a kind of a theme with these episodes that after having watched the entire Rose run, I like Rose in each episode more when I know... Same with Donna. I can stand Donna more when I know how her story arc is going to turn out. Same with Rose, I guess. That said, I mean... This probably says more about me than about the story, but still I cannot relate to just how much Rose breaks down in the story and how much hope she completely loses. And that'll always drag this story down for me. But it dragged it down less than it did when it was the only thing I could focus on, whereas now I can equally focus on
It helps when
David
you listen
Tennant's
to...
performance, the sicker act, the lead up, showing more of Rose's condition, not condition.
Yeah, but I'm saying
more
that
of her
it
situation.
helps that when she starts going on in that carrying on way about how she's not sure and how but the doctor's not here kind of stuff. That you notice that in her head she's picturing 9 instead of 10.
I mean, it's like specifically when she's like, out when we're out in another planet, I can be a hero, but here I'm useless, and I'm just like, why? Like, you did all this stuff on Earth an episode ago, so it's still. I mean, I understand it more, and I can deal with it more, but it's always going to be something that hurts the episode for me. But I can at least balance it out with the second half, or the second third, the last third, or whatever it actually comes out to be, and really enjoy that.
Okay, Erin.
We're just doing overall kind of how we felt about
General
it.
Yeah,
thoughts, and then I'll give
general-
a score when we're done. Or we'll
Mhm.
give a score.
Okay. I liked it a lot better the second time I watched it. Yeah, I kind of enjoyed some of Tennant's quirkiness this time. It was a little bit more fun to watch. Rose was a little bit more irritating though, so.
You're starting to see it like the rest of us do. Wow.
Yeah. There's always something new,
Yeah.
I mean, David Tennant is probably never going to be my doctor. Like, that's always going to be, probably will always be Tom Baker. Probably. There's always a chance that could change, too. Like I
like
said,
how
it's
Tom
not...
Baker is like in my bottom third of the doctors, where so many people put him up as the top doctor.
Shame on Bill. You're no Doctor Who fan.
Bill, after the convention, we're going to kidnap you, and we're going to sit you down in front of a television in a Clockwork Orange position and show you all 7 of Tom Baker's seasons back to
Like,
back.
Like, you need to wear a question mark jumper.
We'll give you a question mark jumper, and we'll give you a question mark handled umbrella, Bill.
And while we're showing it, we'll play the Doctor Who theme slowly in the background. As you're sitting there going, make it stop!
You say Doctor Who.
So now every time you see the Doctor Who theme, you'll start getting traumatic flashbacks.
But I take it when you said Doctor Who theme, that was an accident then?
What did I say?
The first time you said Doctor Who theme, and I'm just like, is that a reference to something I'm not familiar with?
No, it was Doctor. I meant Doctor Who theme. It's just I don't know. I may have stressed something I didn't mean to. It's midnight. We're supposed to be finishing this.
You're tangenting. You're being silly.
We only started an hour late.
Smack.
Okay. My thoughts. Or did you finish your thoughts, Matt?
I didn't even start my thoughts.
Oh,
We were just finishing Bill's thoughts. My thoughts? Yeah, there could have been other ways to have done it, but also one of the easy ways to fix this in the long run would have been to bring the Sycorax back by now. They still are a very easy to do race, I would think, all considering. I wouldn't think those costumes would be very hard to re-replicate.
They should have been on Torchwood.
Yeah, actually, they should have been on Torchwood.
Yeah.
That would have been made
they
for an
should have been
interesting
the replacement for the Weevils or something. They never did much with the Weevils either.
Yeah, they didn't do much with the Weevils. They didn't really go anywhere.
They were supposed to be the major reoccurring
Sure they did.
bad guy.
They went to Stonehenge.
Again! Magic, quote-unquote, magic using aliens. Let's go take them to Stonehenge. Anyway,
Your thoughts, Matt, yes.
the Santa robot things were interesting. It's only a pity that we didn't find out who was really behind them originally. The main point of this episode is, of course, to show off the Doctor, and they do it magnificently, although be it very quickly, because they spent a lot of time with everything else in the story. It feels like the story might be a little bit too crowded, but again, as we have stated, the last act of the story in particular helps save it from everything else.
And that's
just,
all your thoughts?
And yeah, and just binds everything together and makes a nice little clean, tied-up story by the end.
Okay. Alright. Watching this, I get the opinion that Russell T wrote the ending first.
Maybe.
And then wrote everything leading up to that scene. Because everything up to that scene seems rushed, and then it takes its own sweet time.
But are you referring to the tent scene or the Torchwood?
The Tenet scene.
Oh.
The Tenet scene and probably the Torchwood scene after it. I get the opinion that he must have started writing this with that scene in his head.
Yeah.
Because really, if you look at it, this episode is all about that scene. It's just him trying to get there, then it happens, and then he finishes.
Then he looks at you and says, "Was that good for you too?"
And while I loved this episode when I first saw it, because I love that scene, looking back on it and seeing a couple of the writing holes that we're heading to, I'm not liking it as good as I did. I still like it.
It's still not horrible by any means, but it's got holes.
It's definitely a make work project. Other than that, there is not much I can say that I don't like about this. I have no issues with either aliens, though I do think they need to have I would have loved a reveal on who was controlling the robots.
And it would have been nice to flesh out the Sycorax more by now.
Yes. The acting was all pretty good. The unit and Harriet Jones coming back was all very nice. And it did establish a little bit of continuity that does exist in the show to this day, mainly Unit being in the Tower of London. So all in all, I still like this episode. So, rating. Erin.
As the non-Tenant fan. Okay, I'd probably go with 3 stars.
3. Okay. Yep. Bill.
I'm leaning toward 3.5.
Okay. Matt.
I
Four.
actually have to join Bill on this one. I think it's a 3.5. The 0.5 definitely comes from the final act.
Okay. I'm actually going to give it a 4 because, like I said, I still quite like it.
We still fall at 3.5. Ta-da!
Yeah, we still fall at a 3.5.
It's just slightly above average.
Yep. Like I said, I quite like it. I think that really the only faults that I have in it have to do with that one plot hole on who's controlling the pilot fish and how are they connected to the Sycorax. That's really my only major beef with it, so it wasn't worth more than a point deduction in my book.
Yeah,
And any
everybody
other
knows.
minor issues was more than made up for by Tennant's acting.
Ah.
When he came out and he owned that scene, I was grinning ear to ear the entire scene. I just grinned like a madman the first time I saw it, and I still grin like a madman every time I see it. So it fills me with childlike glee, so that gets extra points in my book. So
But I would
3
say
point.
if that scene did turn out a little bit more doctory, like a little more brain and a little less lucky roll, we would probably be a bit higher.
Yeah, it might have been a little bit higher if it wasn't
Like, it comes
quite
more
so
where
over the
it's a
top,
great
and also
scene,
if
but
Rose
it's
was a
not
little less helpless.
Like it's a great scene, but I don't think it's quite as top as you described it, just because the Doctor doesn't routinely show up and challenge people to a duel as his way of saving the day.
Yeah.
Well, there's another side reason is the fact that this was the episode I was watching on TV where I came up with the idea for my fan fiction. So, extra points. 3.5 is our score for A Christmas Invasion, and this will conclude the beginnings part of our Endings and Beginnings series. We will come back next week with something, we know not what.
Or maybe we
will
do,
figure
but
it
we're
out
not telling you!
over the course of the week. And you will find out next week, more or less the same time, sometime between 9 and 10, or a little after 10, depending on how much we tangent prior to the podcast.
Gotta get some of it out of our system, otherwise it'll be nothing but the Tangent podcast.
They could have heard 30 minutes of us talking about, what was this? Was it Trek?
It was
Shrek and Godzilla and anything else
X-Men.
going on lately?
Oh yeah, we did talk a lot about X-Men.
Yes, we talked an awful lot about X-Men and continuity and all the
You
X
should've-
series, etc.
Should have seen our post-podcast conversation last week.
Oh god, yeah, we went on comic books for an hour, I think.
For at least.
Anyway, yeah, we should start our own comic book podcast. There we go.
Right.
Except I don't read them anymore, so I don't really have much to contribute.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We would
same
need-
here.
Anyway.
We would need a Patreon that paid me, enough for one issue per podcast.
Anyway, tune in next week when we come up with something new. See you guys then. We're out of here.
Good night.
Bye bye. Good night.
La vista.